क्या कहता है घर आ जाओ।
India Bulls Home Loans now at 8.5%. घर आ जाओ।
कल बने जो वो आज बनेगा, इंडिया आज का आज बनेगा।
सबके कल का पूरा ख्याल रखें हम, ताकि इंडिया आप आज पे नजर रख सको। इंडिया फर्स्ट लाइफ इंश्योरेंस।
इंडिया आज का आज बनेगा।
The last 18 months, like we have seen whatever one could ask for, ups and downs, drastic fall, drastic recovery, good election. Now in the last 3-4 weeks, like we are seeing down again. So I just want you to give me an outlook for our clients. Like we typically want to have an outlook at least for a longer time period rather than like shorter one.
Looking at such kind of incidences, we can reasonably take a call that while world economy is in reverse gear or maybe in first gear, we are cruising at third, fourth, fifth gear. Now this is corroborated by the fact that RBI itself is saying we will grow by 7.5% in FY10, which is a fairly large number, fairly high number. So fundamentally we seem to be in good shape. We have resources, we have consumers, and we have entrepreneurs. What we were lacking was capital, but now capital everyone is willing to provide, be it FII, be it local banks. All we need is a growth-focused policy whereby projects can be executed quickly, employment can be generated quickly, and we all go on building nation like Chinese have been doing for last 10-20 years. We'll move in true Indian fashion of 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. We'll deliver it in our own style. But net, our car will remain in third, fourth, fifth gear, whereas the global car will remain in reverse neutral and first gear. Now, there will be periods where our pace will slow down a little bit, like it may happen in 2010. In 2009, we had very high liquidity. A lot of money was there in the system. Interest rates were low. Government cut taxes to provide benefits to the economy. So you were running a marathon but on a downward slope. Now 2010 will be running a marathon but on an upward slope. Liquidity will tighten, rates will go up, government will withdraw stimulus. But that's all part and parcel of economic cycle, sometimes up, sometimes down. But as long as you are in third, fourth, fifth gear, it doesn't matter. You are still cruising faster than other people.
But Suresh, I just want you to do the reverse. I just want you to be pessimistic for some time and talk about all the risks which is possible, which can take the theory head on, take the theory of annihilation head on.
The risks that I see are, can be from 2 sides. One is India's stock markets are still driven to a significant degree, as Anup was mentioning earlier. In terms of valuation, they are still driven to a significant degree by the FIIs because they are the guys who buy with a kind of urgency that Indians don't show. Indians are pretty much relaxed in their behavior and they don't chase the prices, they'll buy at their own pace. So an LIC will give slow orders of 50,000 shares or 100,000 shares, whereas an FI will say, close it, sell it and call me back, no price limit. And therefore, the FIs who have given us $17.5 billion in the calendar 2009, when they pull out just about $500 million or a billion in the cash market and about $2 billion in the future market, we see equity market crumbling a little bit. So I think our market still remains at the margin to a certain degree dependent on the behavior of FIIs. So that's one risk that we see, whether the capital flows turn positive or not. So the big risk that you have indeed is withdrawal of stimulus at a faster rate or raising the rates at a very high clip. Again, I would point out that those things will happen if your economic health in the country is so strong that you can afford to do it. One thing which I don't know if people have noticed, but while the country is growing at 7.5%, we actually have the credit growth in this economy, which is at 13-year low. Now, last time around, you had these kind of credit growth numbers 13, 14 years back. The country was growing at about 2.5 or 3% GDP. Now you're going at 7.5%, and we would definitely argue that 13 years back there was hardly any mortgages. 13 years back, probably few of us had one credit card, if anything, and now all of us have multiple credit cards. So in a market where credit penetration has become so high, the fact that we are at significantly lower level of credit indicates that this entire growth is currently happening. A good part of the growth is happening because of the government spending and not because of the private sector spending. And for government to withdraw stimulus, the private sector will have to step in. So you have to do a fine balancing act of letting the private sector step in while you withdraw as a government some stimulus. So that's a bit of a tricky part that needs to be sorted out.
Anup, just coming to you. We all represent the client side, am I right? The kind of regulations which you have seen in the last 6 months, how good they are in terms of protecting our clients' interests?
I think it is just one variable that has got tackled. I think the second variable is really about financial literacy. And financial literacy has got, nothing to do with actual literacy. That is one. Second one is, I think there is another variable to be tackled, and that is about distributor regulations. See, in India, what has happened is regulators have moved very nicely on the product compliance. So products are very nicely regulated. But if you see, distributors are not regulated at all. And distributors must be regulated. Correct. Because India, perhaps, the irony of the situation is, India is perhaps the only country where to graduate you have to study for 3 years. But if you want to become a financial advisor, you virtually can become overnight and put up a board and become a financial. And if you are 10th pass and you start the MP, then you can become mutual fund advisor. Actually, that is an irony of our situation. Unless that portion is corrected, it is very hard, because it is not even cottage industry. It is worse than cottage industry. So and you deal with money, which is very hard earned. So unless that portion is tackled, it will be hard to just correct the whole system just by moving one variable. So but I must also say that regulators are now seized of this matter. But it's a complex thing because they are multi-regulators, and you must not undermine the complexity, both by way of variables and the political complexity of this whole situation. But I must say that overall, I think things are moving in the right direction, and regulations, etc., will come which will protect the customer's interest. But customers will also become financially literate. Because again, the third irony is that to buy a fridge in a house which costs 10,000 rupees, people spend 2 hours, 3 hours opening every door and looking at every freezer. But to buy 1 lakh worth of shares, all they rely is on a 5-second tip from a friend. They have not even heard the company name properly. That is also not right.
That's right. I think the one investments like we are comfortable with is to buy a property and hold it in our name. I just want you to talk about the advantages of participating in real estate investments through a fund structure.
I think all of us used to love to own a physical share certificate, and we could show our kids, see, I own HLL, this is a 100 share certificate or a share. Suddenly, we are all comfortable. It's a process which we have gone through a DMAT. When you own a physical property, there are issues like legal encroachment, regular maintenance of the property, doing a fencing or ensuring there is nobody encroach. There are regular municipal tax needs to be paid. Then all the income tax records, what rate you bought, whose name it is. Slowly in 5 years' time or less than 5 years' time, I am very sure you will have a paperless transaction. Like stock market, there will be a terminal. You can decide, wow, this is a nice office building. I must own 0.25% of this building. And through some mechanism, you will be able to own. Today, intermediary, you are able to do through the venture funds. There are, I think, 25 or 28 venture funds operating in the country. They give you mid-level comfort. They do work on your behalf. They are able to give you the units, and underlying units, you have the equity. So, first house you are enjoying. Second house, all the hassles, plus all the ownership rights are still with you, but through a paper. So we have moved quite a bit in that direction, and I see more and more direction moving in that area only.
As SIAM, as the auto industry, we would certainly like to see no rollback on excise duty, but at the same time, we do realize a fine balancing act that's required this time because of the very high fiscal deficit on one hand and the economic improvement that's happening on the other hand. So my expectation is that as much as we would like to see no rollback, there will be a small rollback in this budget, say about 2% or so. And we have to be prepared for that, whether we like it or not. What I would hope is that the very big gap that we have between small cars and the so-called large cars, which right now has become as high as 14-15%, including 15,000 extra surcharge, is reduced somewhat.
Every night in Budget Week, India's business news leader brings you a 2-hour news exclusive on what to expect in Union Budget 2010. From 8 p.m. till 10 p.m. every night, Pranoy Roy leads India's biggest budget news coverage from NDTV Profit. When it's important, India turns to us. SR presents the Union Budget 2010 from NDTV Profit. SR, let's begin. In association with the Vista Aura Plus, now with ABS and dual airbags. Aditya Birla Group, let's reach for the sun. And LIC of India.
It's like a sprinter who can win the marathon. The revolutionary K-Series engines from Maruti Suzuki. More thrills, more mileage. Now in India's most exciting car, the Swift. And in India's most wanted car, the Desire. The K-Series engines. Leaner, meaner, fitter.
Hey सुनील, लॉन्ग टाइम यार, आ गया ना लेवल पे, बड़ी बड़ी बातें करता था, अच्छा किया यहाँ ज्वाइन किया, अच्छी कंपनी है, ठीक है रहो, चल बाद में बात करते हैं, बॉस से मिलना है, चल मैं इंट्रोड्यूस कराता हूँ, यहाँ पे तो कोई भी नहीं है, बॉस तुम?
कैनरा बैंक MSME लोन्स के कस्टमर जब बड़े सपने देखते हैं तो वो सच हो जाते हैं।
सर एक छोटा सा काम था, हो जाएगा।
ड्रीम बिग विद कैनरा बैंक।
Brought to you by ICICI Bank Wealth Management. Media partners.
Request the panel members to sum it up, but Anup, I just want you to sum up, because the insurance word is a dirty word, but that's how when we approach the clients, like, why do you push me? But I just want you to sum it up, like, for the evening with what are the important role which the insurance plays in the overall financial planning and asset allocation?
I think if we want to secure our lives, the first thing that we have to secure is our life. So we have to take life insurance. Now it is up to you. If initially you have smaller sum of money, just buy a term insurance. It costs very, very little. A 10 lakh life insurance, term insurance, will cost you just around 3,500 rupees, 300 rupees per month. So don't go out, don't have a good evening, just invest in insurance, at least you will be insured. Second one is health insurance. You know, if there is an illness in a family, you will be set back, critical illness, you will be set back by at least 5 to 10 lakhs. That is the minimum cost. Health insurance also is quite inexpensive. So first is life insurance, health insurance, because the other argument is I am so wealthy I don't require a pure life insurance, then that is fine. But initially you must have a life insurance, then a health insurance, then you must start saving regularly, and then you will have it.
Thanks, Anu. Final words for the evening, sir.
Now, just adding to what Nilesh was saying, just one thing, I guess. Between discipline and emotion, choose discipline. So often, I think we become so fearful when the markets fall like it did today that we would probably avoid looking at the markets and would avoid investing. I think those are generally the best